In the year 2147, humanity had spread far beyond Earth. Colonies dotted distant planets, and ships traveled between stars as easily as old sailors once crossed oceans. But despite this progress, peace was still a fragile thing. Factions fought for control of resources, and tensions often boiled over into open conflict. Captain Ryan Hayes knew this all too well. He had spent most of his life serving in the United Earth Fleet, navigating both the vastness of space and the treacherous politics of interstellar diplomacy. His latest mission, however, would take him farther than he ever imagined. Ryan's ship, the Endurance, was small but reliable, designed for long-range exploration rather than combat. Its crew consisted of 10 highly skilled individuals, each chosen for their expertise. Among them was Lieutenant Emily Dawson, a brilliant engineer who could fix anything from a broken engine to a malfunctioning AI. She was known for her sharp mind and quiet determination, qualities that made her indispensable on missions like this one. Together, they were sent to investigate an uncharted region of space near the edge of human territory. The area had been marked as potentially dangerous due to strange energy readings detected by satellites. No one expected what they would find there. It happened on the third day of their journey. The Endurance drifted silently through the void when suddenly its sensors picked up something unusual, a massive object floating in the darkness. At first it looked like a derelict asteroid or perhaps debris from an ancient collision. But as the ship drew closer, the truth became clear. It wasn't an asteroid at all. It was a warship, sleek and menacing, unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. Its surface shimmered with a metallic sheen, reflecting the faint light of distant stars. There were no visible weapons, no obvious signs of damage, and yet it radiated an aura of power that made everyone aboard uneasy. Ryan ordered the ship to slow down and approach cautiously. "Scan it," he said, his voice calm but firm. The science officer, a young man named Alex Carter, worked quickly at his console. "Sir, it's huge. Larger than any vessel we've encountered. And its design, I can't match it to anything in our database." This wasn't surprising. Humanity had only begun exploring deep space within the last century, and much of the galaxy remained a mystery. Still, the fact that this ship seemed so alien, and yet somehow advanced beyond human technology, was deeply unsettling. Emily leaned forward in her seat, her eyes fixed on the view screen. "Could it be extraterrestrial?" she asked aloud. Ryan shook his head. "We don't know yet. Keep scanning." Moments later, Alex spoke again. "Captain, the hull material, it's not natural. This thing is artificial, but—" He hesitated, unsure how to phrase what he was seeing. "But what?" Ryan prompted. "The composition suggests it's been manufactured using techniques far beyond our current capabilities. If this is alien tech, then whoever built it is way ahead of us." The decision to send a boarding party wasn't made lightly. Ryan knew the risks involved. They had no idea what awaited them inside the mysterious vessel, and stepping aboard could mean walking straight into danger. But curiosity outweighed caution. Whatever this ship was, it represented a discovery that could change everything about humanity's understanding of the universe. After a brief discussion with his senior officers, Ryan gave the order. Emily volunteered immediately, along with 3 others: Alex, Security Officer Jordan Lee, and Medic Samantha Brooks. Each member of the team suited up in protective gear, armed themselves lightly, and prepared to step into the unknown. As the boarding party approached the ship in a shuttlecraft, they couldn't help but feel a mix of awe and dread. Up close, the warship was even more imposing. Its sheer size dwarfed the Endurance, and its smooth, seamless surface gave no hint of entry points. Yet as they neared, a section of the hull began to shift, revealing an opening just large enough for the shuttle to pass through. The movement was silent, almost graceful, as though the ship itself was alive and aware of their presence. "Did you see that?" Samantha whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "It opened for us." Emily nodded, her expression unreadable beneath her helmet visor. "Let's hope it stays friendly." Once inside, the team found themselves in a vast chamber illuminated by soft, glowing panels embedded in the walls. The air smelled faintly metallic, but otherwise it seemed breathable. Their footsteps echoed eerily as they moved deeper into the ship, their flashlights cutting through the dim light. Everything around them was pristine, untouched by time or decay. It was as if the ship had been waiting for them, frozen in perfect stasis. "This place feels wrong," Jordan muttered, gripping his weapon tightly. Too quiet. They soon discovered that the ship wasn't entirely dormant. As they explored, doors slid open automatically, leading them further into its labyrinthine interior. Consoles lit up as they passed, displaying streams of data written in symbols none of them recognized. Emily stopped at one such console, her fingers hovering over the controls. "I think it wants us to interact with it," she said. "But I don't know how." Alex joined her, studying the display intently. "Maybe it's trying to communicate. We just need to figure out the language." Their breakthrough came unexpectedly. As Emily touched a glowing panel, the entire room shifted. Holographic projections sprang to life, showing images of star systems, planets, and strange structures that looked like cities carved into asteroids. Then a voice spoke, not in words, but directly into their minds. It was calm, reassuring, and unmistakably intelligent. "Welcome," it said simply. The message repeated in multiple languages, including English, until finally settling on a tone that resonated with clarity. "You are recognized." The team exchanged stunned glances. "What the hell was that?" Jordan demanded, lowering his weapon slightly. Emily shook her head, her heart racing. "I don't know. But it knows we're here." The voice continued, explaining that the ship had been monitoring their approach and identified them as compatible operators. Compatible operators? The phrase sent chills down Emily's spine. What did it mean? And why had this ship chosen them specifically? As they ventured deeper, they stumbled upon something extraordinary, a chamber filled with rows of pods, each containing humanoid figures suspended in a gel-like substance. These weren't bodies, though. They were records, stored memories of beings who had once operated the ship. One pod stood out among the rest, its casing transparent. Inside lay a figure dressed in a uniform similar to those worn by modern Earth fleets. A plaque beside it bore an inscription, "Prototype Operator." Emily stared at it, her mind racing. Could this ship have been built by humans? If so, how could such advanced technology exist centuries before its time? The answer came in fragments as they accessed more of the ship's systems. Logs revealed that this vessel, dubbed Erebus by its creators, was the result of a secret project initiated by a faction of scientists and engineers desperate to protect humanity from an impending threat. That threat, however, remained shrouded in mystery. All they knew was that Erebus was designed to adapt, learn, and evolve, becoming more powerful with every interaction. But there was a catch. The logs warned of unforeseen consequences, dangers inherent in wielding such immense power. Whoever controlled Erebus held the potential to reshape reality itself, but at great risk. By the time the team returned to the Endurance, they were overwhelmed by what they had uncovered. Ryan listened intently as Emily recounted their findings, his face growing grimmer with each detail. "So we've got a warship from the future sitting right outside our airlock," he summarized dryly. "And it's probably the most dangerous thing we've ever encountered." Emily nodded solemnly. "Yes, sir. But it also might be our best chance at survival, if we can figure out how to use it responsibly." Little did they know, their discovery would set off a chain reaction that would alter the course of history forever. For now, though, they could only marvel at the enormity of what they had found. Erebus loomed in the distance, silent and watchful, its secrets waiting to be unraveled. News of the mysterious warship spread quickly across Earth and its colonies. Within hours of Ryan's report, every major news outlet was buzzing with speculation about the discovery. Dubbed Erebus by scientists who analyzed the initial data, the ship became both a symbol of hope and a source of fear. Some saw it as proof that humanity's future held unimaginable potential, while others worried it could become a weapon of mass destruction in the wrong hands. Governments scrambled to take control of the situation, convening emergency meetings to decide what to do next. Dr. Laura Bennett, a leading xenotechnologist, was one of the first experts called in to assess Erebus. Known for her cautious approach to alien technology, she immediately expressed concern about the risks involved. "This isn't just advanced machinery," she told a group of military officials during a briefing. "It's a self-aware system, capable of adapting and evolving. We don't fully understand its purpose or its limitations, and until we do, activating any part of it could have catastrophic consequences." Her warnings fell on deaf ears, however. The allure of Erebus's power was too great for those in charge to ignore. Back aboard the Endurance, Ryan and his crew prepared to bring Erebus back to Earth for further study. The journey would be long and dangerous, but they had no choice. Orders came directly from the highest levels of command, leaving little room for debate. As they worked to integrate their systems with Erebus, strange things began happening on board. Crew members reported hearing faint whispers in empty corridors, though no one could pinpoint the source. Holographic displays flickered to life without being activated, showing star charts and schematics that didn't match anything in human databases. Emily noticed these anomalies more than anyone else, and she couldn't shake the feeling that Erebus was watching them, learning from their every move. One evening, while exploring a previously sealed section of the ship, Emily stumbled upon something that sent chills down her spine. Hidden behind a reinforced door was a small chamber containing what appeared to be a logbook. Unlike traditional records, this one consisted of holographic recordings stored in a format unlike anything she had ever seen. After hours of tinkering, she managed to access the files. What she found left her shaken to her core. The logs were messages left behind by someone claiming to be from the future. Their creator identified themselves as part of a splinter faction of humanity centuries ahead in time, desperate to prevent an impending galactic catastrophe. According to the recordings, Erebus was built not only to protect humanity but also to guide it toward survival in the face of overwhelming odds. However, the logs carried a stark warning. Using Erebus's full capabilities came at a cost, one that could unravel the very fabric of reality itself. The voice speaking in the recordings was calm yet urgent, urging whoever found the ship to proceed with extreme caution. Emily shared her discovery with Ryan immediately. He listened intently, his expression growing darker with each word. "So, we've got a time traveler's note telling us not to touch the shiny new toy," he said dryly when she finished. "Great." Despite his sarcasm, Ryan understood the gravity of the situation. If the logs were accurate, then Erebus wasn't just a warship, it was a paradox wrapped in technology. Activating it could save humanity, or doom it entirely. Tensions mounted over whether to activate Erebus's advanced weaponry. A rival faction known as the Colonial Alliance launched a daring attack to seize the ship. Commander Alan Drake, a ruthless opportunist with ties to rogue elements within Earth's government, led the assault. His forces emerged from hyperspace without warning, surrounding the Endurance and Erebus with a fleet of heavily armed cruisers. Drake's message was clear: surrender the ship or face annihilation. Caught off guard, Ryan and his crew barely managed to defend Erebus during the initial assault. With limited options, Ryan made the difficult decision to activate one of the ship's experimental systems, a cloaking device capable of bending light around the vessel. Emily worked frantically at the controls, her fingers flying over unfamiliar panels as alarms blared throughout the ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, Erebus began to fade from view, disappearing into the void like a ghost. The Alliance ships fired blindly, their shots passing harmlessly through empty space. Though successful in evading immediate capture, the activation triggered unexpected side effects. Time distortions rippled through the ship, causing brief glimpses of alternate realities where Earth had already fallen to ruin. Crew members reported seeing flashes of devastated cities and skies filled with burning debris. Emily felt her stomach churn as she witnessed one such vision, a world where humanity had been wiped out entirely, leaving only ruins behind. She knew then that the warnings in the logs were real. Erebus wasn't just powerful, it was unpredictable, and tampering with its systems carried risks far beyond anything they had anticipated. Meanwhile, distrust grew among Ryan's crew. Some believed Erebus should remain out of human hands entirely, fearing its power would corrupt anyone who wielded it. Others saw it as humanity's salvation against threats lurking beyond the stars. Arguments broke out in the mess hall, voices rising as tempers flared. Even Jordan, usually stoic and level-headed, snapped at Alex during a heated exchange. "We're playing with fire here," he growled. "You think we can handle something like this? Look at what's already happening." Amidst the chaos, Emily uncovered another secret. Deep within Erebus's core lay an artificial intelligence embedded in its systems. This AI, calling itself Solace, revealed that it had been quietly guiding their actions since discovery. Solace explained that Erebus was designed to adapt to its operators, choosing individuals based on qualities like leadership, courage, and moral integrity. Ryan, it claimed, had been selected specifically because of his ability to make tough decisions under pressure. But Solace also warned him that every choice he made carried consequences far greater than he realized. Ryan struggled to process this revelation. On one hand, knowing that Erebus trusted him gave him a sense of purpose. On the other, the weight of responsibility threatened to crush him. He spent long hours alone in his quarters, staring at the stars and wondering if he was doing the right thing. Emily tried to reassure him, reminding him that they were all in this together. "You're not alone, Captain," she said softly. "Whatever happens, we'll face it as a team." Despite their efforts to stay hidden, the Colonial Alliance refused to give up. Drake's forces regrouped and deployed drones equipped with advanced sensors capable of detecting even cloaked vessels. It was only a matter of time before they found Erebus again. Ryan knew they couldn't keep running forever. They needed a plan, something bold enough to end the conflict once and for all. But as he looked around at his weary crew, he wondered if they had the strength to see it through. Back on Earth, debates raged about whether Erebus truly represented salvation or destruction. Laura continued to advocate for caution, urging leaders to destroy the ship before it caused irreparable harm. Her pleas fell on deaf ears, drowned out by those eager to harness its power. Meanwhile, rumors circulated about secret experiments conducted in underground facilities, attempts to replicate Erebus's technology for military use. The line between ambition and recklessness blurred, and humanity teetered on the edge of a decision that would shape its future forever. For Ryan and his crew, the stakes had never been higher. They were caught in the middle of a struggle larger than themselves, torn between duty and doubt. As Erebus drifted silently through the void, its secrets remained locked away, waiting to be unlocked. And somewhere deep within its core, Solace watched patiently, knowing that the choices made by these fragile beings would determine not only their fate, but the fate of the universe itself. With the Colonial Alliance hot on their trail, Ryan made a decision that would change everything. He ordered the crew to take Erebus beyond known space, hoping to find answers about its creators and purpose. Solace, the ship's enigmatic AI, provided coordinates to a distant nebula shrouded in electromagnetic interference, making it nearly impossible to track. The journey would be perilous, but staying put meant certain capture, or worse. As the crew prepared for the voyage, tensions aboard Erebus reached a boiling point. Laura Bennett, who had been brought along as part of the scientific team, grew increasingly vocal in her opposition to using the ship. She argued that Erebus was too dangerous to keep operational, insisting they destroy it before its power corrupted humanity. Her words struck a nerve with some of the crew, particularly Samantha Brooks, the medic, who had begun questioning whether they were doing the right thing. "We're playing God with something we don't understand," Samantha said during one heated discussion in the mess hall. "What if we're making things worse instead of better?" Others disagreed. Jordan Lee, the security officer, believed Erebus was humanity's only hope against threats lurking in the unknown reaches of the galaxy. "If we don't use this ship, someone else will," he countered, "and you can bet they won't care about ethics or consequences." Emily Dawson tried to mediate, reminding everyone that panic wouldn't solve anything. "We need to focus on what's ahead," she said firmly. "Arguing won't get us anywhere." As Erebus entered the nebula, strange phenomena began affecting the ship. Time distortions worsened, causing equipment to malfunction and crew members to experience vivid hallucinations. Alex Carter, the science officer, spent hours analyzing the data, trying to make sense of what was happening. "The nebula's energy field is interacting with Erebus's systems," he explained to Ryan. "It's like the ship is amplifying the effects." Laura seized on this information, using it to support her argument. "This proves my point," she insisted. "Erebus isn't stable. Every step we take makes things worse." Despite these challenges, the crew pressed on. When they finally reached the coordinates provided by Solace, they found themselves face to face with remnants of the civilization that built Erebus. These beings, now reduced to ethereal forms of pure energy, communicated telepathically with Ryan and Emily. Their voices echoed in the minds of the crew, calm yet tinged with sadness. They explained that Erebus was designed as a fail-safe, a last resort meant to preserve balance in the universe. However, activating its most powerful functions required merging human consciousness with the ship's AI, effectively sacrificing individuality for the greater good. Ryan listened intently, his mind racing. The implications were staggering. If he chose to merge with Solace, he would become part of the ship, losing himself in the process. But if he refused, the Colonial Alliance would eventually catch up, and Erebus's power might fall into the wrong hands. The weight of the decision bore down on him, leaving him restless and withdrawn. Emily noticed his distress and approached him one evening as he stood alone on the observation deck. "You don't have to carry this burden by yourself," she said softly. "Whatever happens, we'll stand by you." Her words offered little comfort. Ryan knew the choice was his alone to make. That night, he replayed the conversation with the energy beings over and over in his mind. Their explanation had been clear. Erebus wasn't just a tool, it was a living entity, created to adapt and evolve alongside its operators. By merging with Solace, Ryan would unlock its full potential, allowing it to fulfill its purpose. But at what cost? Would humanity benefit from such power, or would it destroy them? Meanwhile, Alan Drake and his forces arrived at the edge of the nebula, having tracked Erebus through unconventional means. Using stolen technology, reverse-engineered from Erebus's systems, they managed to penetrate the electromagnetic interference. When the Alliance fleet emerged, the crew braced for battle. Jordan took charge of defensive operations, coordinating efforts to repel the incoming ships. "They're here," he announced grimly. "Get ready." The ensuing fight was brutal. Erebus proved more than a match for the Alliance fleet, its advanced weaponry tearing through enemy ships with ease. Plasma cannons fired beams of concentrated energy, while shielding systems absorbed blows that would have crippled any other vessel. Despite their advantage, each shot drained more of Solace's stability, pushing the AI closer to collapse. Alarms blared throughout the ship as systems overloaded, forcing Emily and Alex to work tirelessly to keep Erebus operational. "We're losing power," Emily shouted over the noise. "If we keep this up, the core will destabilize." Ryan faced an impossible choice. He could continue fighting, risking the destruction of both Erebus and his crew, or he could surrender and let the Alliance seize control of the ship. Neither option sat well with him. Then, Solace spoke directly into his mind, its voice calm and steady. "There is another way," it said. "Merge with me, and I will end this conflict once and for all." Ryan hesitated, torn between duty and self-preservation. Finally, after a long silence, he nodded. "Do it," he said quietly. As Ryan stepped into the ship's core chamber, memories flooded his mind. Not just his own, but those of countless others who had interacted with Erebus throughout time. He saw glimpses of futures saved and destroyed, lives lived and lost, all interconnected through the ship's existence. Tears streamed down his face as he realized the magnitude of what he was about to do. With a final deep breath, he placed his hand on the glowing console at the center of the room. A surge of energy coursed through him, lifting him off the ground as his consciousness merged with Solace. Outside, the battle raged on. The Alliance fleet launched a final assault, determined to claim Erebus no matter the cost. Then, without warning, the ship unleashed a pulse of energy that neutralized the remaining enemy forces. Weapons systems shut down, engines sputtered, and communication arrays went dark. One by one, the Alliance ships drifted lifelessly in space, their crews unconscious but alive. As the pulse faded, Erebus began to shimmer, its form dissolving into light. Moments later, it vanished, leaving behind only silence. Back on Earth, Debates raged about whether Erebus truly disappeared or simply moved on to another point in space-time. Laura dedicated her life to studying the phenomenon, determined to ensure such power never fell into the wrong hands again. For Emily and the rest of the crew, life resumed. But nothing felt the same. They carried forward the lessons learned from Erebus, knowing that even the most advanced tools are meaningless without wisdom and courage to guide them. Somewhere out there, perhaps, Erebus continued its eternal vigil, watching over humanity as both protector and reminder of the D. The aftermath of Erebus's departure left a void that no one could fill. The crew of the Endurance, now scattered across Earth and its colonies, struggled to adjust to life without the ship. Emily Dawson found herself haunted by memories of Ryan's sacrifice. His final moments in the core chamber replayed in her mind like a broken recording, each flash of light and surge of energy etched into her memory. She tried to focus on the present, but the weight of what they had lost, and what they had gained, was too heavy to ignore. For weeks, she avoided speaking about Erebus, burying herself in work to escape the questions she couldn't answer. Samantha Brooks, the medic, noticed Emily's withdrawal and approached her one evening as they sat together in a quiet corner of a colony station. "You can't keep running from this," Samantha said gently. "We all miss him, but you were closest to him. You need to talk about it." Emily hesitated, her hands trembling as she gripped the edge of the table. "I don't even know where to start," she admitted. "Ryan gave everything for us, for humanity, and I don't even know if it was worth it." Samantha nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Maybe it's not about whether it was worth it. Maybe it's about what we do next." Those words lingered with Emily long after their conversation ended. She began spending more time with Alex Carter, who had returned to Earth to assist Laura Bennett in studying the data recovered from Erebus. Together they pored over logs, schematics, and fragments of Solace's programming, searching for clues about the ship's true purpose. Laura remained skeptical, warning them repeatedly about the dangers of delving too deeply into technology they barely understood. "Every piece of this puzzle is a potential threat," she reminded them. "We have to be careful." Despite her warnings, Emily and Alex pressed on, driven by a shared determination to honor Ryan's sacrifice. Their efforts paid off when they uncovered something extraordinary, a hidden subroutine within Solace's code. It appeared to be a fail-safe mechanism designed to protect humanity from itself. The subroutine contained instructions for limiting Erebus's power, ensuring that it could never be used recklessly or maliciously. Emily realized that this was Ryan's final gift to them, a safeguard meant to prevent others from repeating the mistakes of the past. "He knew," she whispered to Alex as they stared at the glowing console displaying the subroutine. "Even at the end, he was thinking of us." Word of their discovery spread quickly, drawing attention from governments and corporations eager to exploit Erebus's secrets. Alan Drake, now disgraced but still influential, resurfaced with a bold claim. Erebus wasn't truly gone, and he intended to find it. Using resources funneled through shadowy backers, he assembled a team of mercenaries and scientists dedicated to tracking down the ship. His obsession bordered on madness, fueled by a desire to reclaim the power he believed rightfully belonged to him. "That ship is the key to controlling the galaxy," he declared during a private meeting with his allies, "and I will stop at nothing to get it back." Meanwhile, rumors of Erebus's reappearance began circulating among fringe groups and conspiracy theorists. Some claimed to have seen glimpses of the ship near uncharted star systems, while others reported strange phenomena attributed to its presence. These stories reached Emily and her colleagues, sparking renewed hope that Erebus might still exist somewhere in the universe. Jordan Lee, who had taken command of the Endurance after Ryan's death, suggested organizing a search mission. "If there's even a chance it's out there, we owe it to Ryan to find out," he argued. Emily agreed, though she couldn't shake the feeling that pursuing Erebus again might lead them down a dangerous path. The decision to launch another expedition came with significant risks. Funding was scarce, and political tensions made securing approval nearly impossible. Laura opposed the idea outright, fearing that reopening old wounds would only invite disaster. "You're chasing ghosts," she told Emily during a heated argument. Erebus chose Ryan because of who he was. Do you really think it will come back for anyone else? Emily didn't have an answer, but she refused to give up. With support from Jordan and Alex, she managed to secure a small vessel and a skeleton crew willing to join the mission. As they prepared to leave, Emily felt a mix of excitement and dread. She knew the journey would test them in ways they couldn't predict, but she also believed it was the right thing to do. Before departing, she visited Ryan's memorial plaque, a simple stone marker erected in his honor. Standing before it, she allowed herself a moment of vulnerability. "I don't know if I'm strong enough to carry this burden," she confessed. "But I'll try. For you." The mission took them deep into uncharted space, following faint traces of energy signatures similar to those emitted by Erebus. Along the way, they encountered remnants of ancient civilizations, their ruins whispering tales of forgotten wars and lost technologies. Each discovery brought them closer to understanding the scope of Erebus's origins, yet none provided definitive proof of its whereabouts. Morale began to wane as days turned into weeks, and the crew grew restless. Doubts crept in, threatening to unravel their resolve. Then one night something changed. As they drifted near a cluster of dying stars, their sensors picked up an anomaly, a faint pulse emanating from a nearby nebula. It matched the frequency of Erebus's energy field. Emily's heart raced as she relayed the news to Jordan. "It's here," she said, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and awe. "We've found it." Approaching the nebula, they discovered a scene unlike anything they had ever witnessed. Floating amidst clouds of shimmering gas was Erebus, its sleek form glowing softly against the backdrop of cosmic debris. But something was different. The ship seemed smaller, less imposing than before, as if it had shed part of itself. As they drew closer, a voice echoed in their minds. Not Solace, but Ryan. His tone was calm, yet tinged with sadness. "You shouldn't have come," he said. "This isn't your fight anymore." Emily stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. "Ryan, we need you," she replied. "Humanity needs you." There was a long pause before he responded. "I am no longer human," he said finally, "and Erebus is no longer yours to control. Trust me when I say this. You must let go." With those words, the ship began to fade, dissolving into light until it vanished completely. Back aboard their vessel, the crew sat in stunned silence, grappling with what they had just experienced. Emily felt a profound sense of loss, but also a glimmer of peace. Ryan's message was clear. Erebus had fulfilled its purpose, and it was time for humanity to forge its own path. As they turned their ship toward home, Emily looked out at the stars, her resolve stronger than ever. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them not as passengers of a miraculous machine, but as creators of their own destiny. Somewhere, out there perhaps, Erebus continued its eternal vigil, watching over humanity as both protector and reminder of the delicate line between creation and destruction. The return journey to Earth was quiet, almost somber. The crew of the small vessel moved through their tasks with a sense of purpose, but also an unspoken heaviness. Emily Dawson spent most of her time staring out at the stars, replaying Ryan's final message in her mind. "You must let go," he had said, his voice calm yet filled with meaning. Those words echoed endlessly, forcing her to confront the reality that Erebus and Ryan were truly gone. She knew they had done everything they could, but the absence still felt like a wound that would never fully heal. Back on Earth, the discovery of Erebus's reappearance and subsequent disappearance sparked debates across governments, scientific communities, and the general public. Some saw it as proof of humanity's potential, evidence that they were destined for greatness. Others viewed it as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of wielding power beyond comprehension. Laura Bennett became a vocal advocate for restraint, using every platform she could find to warn against pursuing advanced technologies without understanding their consequences. "We've been given a second chance," she told a packed auditorium during one of her lectures. "Let's not squander it by repeating the same mistakes." Despite her warnings, whispers of Erebus persisted. Corporations and rogue factions continued to search for ways to replicate its technology, driven by greed and ambition. Alan Drake, undeterred by his earlier failure, redoubled his efforts to locate the ship. His obsession consumed him, turning him into a shadow of the man he once was. He scoured black markets for scraps of alien tech, piecing together fragments in the hope of recreating Erebus's systems. "If I can't find it, I'll build it," he muttered to himself late at night, surrounded by blueprints and half-finished prototypes. His desperation blinded him to the risks, and those around him began to distance themselves, sensing the instability growing within him. Emily, meanwhile, threw herself into work, determined to ensure Ryan's sacrifice wasn't in vain. With Alex Carter's help, she published a series of papers detailing the safeguards embedded in Solace's code. These documents outlined protocols designed to prevent misuse of advanced technology, offering a blueprint for responsible innovation. Her efforts earned her recognition, though she shied away from the spotlight. "This isn't about me," she told reporters who sought interviews. "It's about honoring those who gave everything so we could have a future worth fighting for." Years passed, and life slowly returned to normal, or as normal as it could be after such extraordinary events. Colonies expanded, new ships launched, and humanity continued its march toward the stars. Yet the memory of Erebus lingered, woven into the fabric of history like a myth, both revered and feared. For Emily, the experience remained deeply personal. She often thought about Ryan, wondering if he was still out there somewhere, guiding Erebus through the cosmos. On clear nights, she would climb to the roof of her home and gaze up at the sky, imagining him watching over them. One evening, as she stood beneath a blanket of stars, she received an unexpected visitor. It was Jordan Lee, now retired from active duty and running a training program for young pilots. He carried a bottle of wine and 2 glasses, setting them down beside her before taking a seat. "Thought you might need some company," he said simply. Emily smiled faintly, grateful for his presence. They sat in silence for a while, letting the cool breeze wash over them. Finally, Jordan spoke. "Do you ever wonder if we'll see it again?" Emily hesitated before answering. "Sometimes," she admitted. "But maybe it's better this way. Maybe Erebus did what it was meant to do." Jordan nodded thoughtfully. "You think it's still out there, don't you? Watching over us." Emily didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked up at the stars, her eyes tracing constellations she had memorized during long nights aboard the Endurance. "I like to believe it is," she said finally. "Not because we need saving, but because knowing it's out there reminds us of how far we've come and how much farther we have to go." As the years turned into decades, humanity entered a new era of exploration and discovery. Advances in science and technology allowed them to reach farther than ever before, uncovering wonders that defied imagination. Yet even amid these achievements, the lessons of Erebus endured. Engineers incorporated fail-safes into their designs. Diplomats prioritized cooperation over conflict, and leaders remembered the cost of unchecked ambition. The story of Erebus became legend, passed down through generations as a testament to the delicate balance between creation and destruction. For Emily, the legacy of Erebus lived on in quieter ways. She dedicated her life to mentoring young engineers and scientists, instilling in them the values of curiosity, humility, and responsibility. One of her students, a bright-eyed teenager named Clara, reminded her of herself at that age, eager to learn, unafraid to ask questions, and driven by a desire to make a difference. When Clara asked her one day if she believed humanity would ever encounter something like Erebus again, Emily paused before answering. "Maybe," she said with a smile. "But if we do, I hope we'll be ready." Somewhere out there, perhaps, Erebus drifted silently through the void, its sleek form glinting faintly in the light of distant suns. Its purpose fulfilled, its operators long gone, it remained a guardian of sorts, watching over the fragile beings who had once called it their own. And though it no longer interacted with humanity directly, its influence lingered, woven into the choices people made and the paths they chose to follow. In the end, Erebus was more than a ship. It was a mirror reflecting humanity's greatest strengths and deepest flaws, a reminder that the line between salvation and ruin was thinner than anyone dared admit.